Hello everybody, how are you? I hope you're all really well. I've got a story for you today, and this story is quite a special story, I think, because it comes from where I live, from England, and a little county called Sussex. And Sussex is a beautiful place to live. We've got forests and castles, we've got the sea, we've got beautiful woods to explore, but can't get out much at the moment because we're staying safe and staying home. But what we can do is explore all the amazing stories that come from the area that we live in. Sussex has got stories of witches and giants and Vikings. And today, I've got a story for you about a dragon. A particular kind of dragon, a water dragon called a Knucker. If you were to get in your car and to drive down the A27, you'd eventually come across a little village called Lyminster. And Lyminster is a beautiful village. There's a lovely pub, there are lovely fields to go and explore, and there's a beautiful church with a very, very special stained glass window. A stained glass window that shows a dragon being defeated by a young man. And just next to it, there's a gravestone, an interesting shaped stone with an interesting pattern on. And if you were feeling adventurous and took a walk out past the church, through the gate and down the lane, you'd come to a fence. And if you were feeling a bit sneaky, you might look through a hole in that fence. And there is the great pool, the Knucker hole, a dark pool that goes all the way down, sheer sides, all the way down to the centre of the earth, some say. And it was from that pool, once upon a time and a long, long time ago, that a Knucker, a dragon, would appear every single week in the village of Lyminster and eat and eat and eat. The Knucker was terrifying. It was tall as it rose out of the pool. Its teeth dripped with black poison, with black ichor. Its scales were slimy. Its eyes were full of flame and fire. And it would lash out and snatch up a horse, snatch up a pig, snatch up a sheep, snatch up a chicken. And when the sheep and the cows and the chickens and the horses were all gone, it started on the cats and the dogs. And pretty soon they ran out as well. And the Knucker, hungry, turned its attention to the people of the village of Lyminster. Oh, they were terrified. They were terrified. I mean, that Knucker was pretty scary just to live near, and it was pretty bad when it was eating all of their livestock. But now it might eat them. The people sent out a call, and because this is a story, and because this happened a long time ago, a whole host of brave knights came to answer the call and to make their name in defeating the great dragon and saving all the people. First up was Sir Brilliant. And Sir Brilliant had shiny armour and a shiny sword, and he took his sword and he looked up at the Knucker, and the Knucker looked down at him. And he was just about to say, "I have come to defeat you," when the Knucker went and ate him up. The next to try his luck was Sir Awesome, and Sir Awesome had shiny armour and a shiny sword, and he was just about to draw his sword and say, "I am Sir Awesome, I have come to defeat you," when the Knucker looked at Sir Awesome and went and ate up the knight, armour and all. It only spat out, the sword that had got stuck in its teeth. Night after night after night came to try and defeat the great Knucker, but each and every one of them was eaten up whole. One particularly dark night, the people of the village, they sat in the local pub and they just despaired. They didn't know what to do. They hadn't been able to stop the Knucker, and now, these blooming useless knights, they couldn't do anything either. They were all going to die. What was going to happen? Then Jim Puttock, he was a young man. he was quite quiet, but he had an idea, and he said, look, swords are obviously no good and the knights are useless, so why don't we try tricking the Knucker? Why don't we play a trick on him? Jim set to work on his plan. When he was a little kid, his favourite food was a Sussex pie, a lovely pie made of pastry with all sorts of tasty vegetables and herbs inside. Jim asked all the local bakers if they would make him pastry to make an enormous pie crust. And then he started filling his very special Sussex pie for the Knucker. But he didn't get tasty things. No. He didn't want mince or tomatoes or potatoes or carrots or rosemary or thyme. He wanted rotten fish guts. He wanted lumpy milk that had gone off. He wanted rotting fruit and vegetables from the compost heap. He wanted smelly dog poo that had been left out by the dog walkers. He wanted dirty nappies from the nurseries. He wanted all sorts of smelly, disgusting, decomposing everything he could find. People brought their bins and squeezed the bin juice into the pie, and it was just disgusting. Soon the pie was full and smelt awful. Jim lifted the enormous pie crust, and the pie was ready. He put it on a little handcart and he took it past the church, down the lane, to where the Knucker hole was. The water bubbled, and from the water, nose first, came the Knucker. Oh, what is that smell? Said the Knucker. Oh, hello, Knucker. Oh, this is a Sussex pie. You know, these are very special pies, and I thought you might like one. You know, being a Knucker and all, I thought you might enjoy this. Oh, it smells interesting. Well, yes, it's a very special pie. Only people, said Jim, with very strong stomachs can eat this pie. But, I mean, do you think your stomach's strong enough? Do you think you can eat this pie? Of course I can, said the Knucker. I have eaten all of your farm animals. I have eaten all the knights of the realm. I can eat this little pie, no problem. And the Knucker came down, ate it up in one gulp. And the Knucker was about to say something when, pardon me, he said. And the Knucker, he started to feel a bit sick. And he started to look a little bit pale. You right, Knucker? Said Jim. And the Knucker belched. And then the Knucker vomited. The Knucker vomited. He vomited all over the fields. He vomited all over the village. He vomited all over the lane. There was just dragon sick everywhere. He threw up and 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 threw up until the Knucker just collapsed. Weak and pathetic by the side of the Knucker hole. Oh, poor Knucker, said Jim. And he walked around the side of the Knucker, just behind its head, where one of the knight's swords was still stuck into the earth. Oh, poor Knucker, don't worry, I'll make you feel better. And he brought down his sword as hard as he could, thwack, onto the dragon's neck. And the dragon's neck was severed from its body, and a great splume, a great splume of dragon blood, of thick black dragon blood, poured over Jim. And he was covered and it was sticky. But the dragon was defeated. And all the people of the village came out and they celebrated, and they immediately, even before cleaning up, they immediately took Jim to the pub and they brought him a big mug of frothy beer. And Jim smiled. He was pretty exhausted by this point, but he smiled, and he took that pint of beer and then he took his hand and he wiped his mouth. Jim had forgotten to wash his hands. Jim was covered in black, slimy dragon ichor, dragon blood, and as I'm sure you know, dragon blood is poisonous. Jim started to feel a little bit funny, and my friends, I won't go into detail, but heroes, even heroes, must wash their hands, and I'm afraid Jim did not last the night. He died right there in the pub, poisoned by the Knucker's blood. Oh. And the people of the village were so pleased at what he'd done at defeating the Knucker, and were so sad at the loss of their lad, Jim Puttock. Oh, but he was given a hero's funeral. And everybody gathered and they told stories and they sang songs and they washed their hands thoroughly and they drank beer. And they made a beautiful stained glass to remember him by. And they made a beautiful gravestone with a special pattern. A pattern that looks like dragon scales, Knucker scales. And they told his story. They told his story over and over and over again, so that everybody would remember and know just how important it is to wash your hands. So that's the end of my story for today. And as we all know, washing hands is very important, isn't it? Okay, my friends, I'm going to leave it there. I'll put some activities in the comments bit below. So please do have a look if you're homeschooling. And until next time, stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.